Whenever a Hall of Famer is back on campus, you got to make sure you make time. And one, welcome him back, but dive into that story here with so many great Saluki flashbacks. And whenever you say the name Cornell Craig around Carbondale, brings back some really good memories. Responsible for the only two 1,000-yard receiving seasons by a single receiver in program history. Cornell, welcome back to campus. How's it feel to be back here in Carbondale?
Glad to be back. Feels like coming home.
No.
Glad to be back, and glad that the program is in such a good place with Coach Hill and his squad. Just happy to see everybody.
It's one of those things when you're in it. You were in it as a player. When you're going through it, you may not think, it's kind of just us that have eyeballs on how the program's doing. As a former player, when you get a chance to talk to current players, how often do you tell them, hey, there are many former guys who have worn that uniform, like yourself now, that constantly during the season you're checking your phone, you're seeing how the Salukis are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I always keep track. I'm always checking, websites, highlights, even streaming games if I can. Living in New York, I'm quite a ways away, but it's always important to keep up with the Salukis and know what's going on.
When you think of your time here, again, all the accolades come to it. Hall of Famer, you were inducted in 2008. You still hold many of the receiving records that are still here in program history. But what's the first thing you go to? What do you hold closest to you about your time as a Saluki?
It's really about the feeling of being a part of a team and a community that really cares. It's really a place where I grew up, not only as an athlete but as a person. So those are things I hold really close to my heart. The personal and the individual accolades are wonderful, and I really cherish those. But more important than that, when I come to campus, when I think about my experience in Carbondale at SIU, I think about those relationships. I think about those feelings that I had being a first-year student on campus and then even working up towards graduation.
When you got here to play for Coach Watson, what was originally kind of your thought process of why Carbondale, why SIU, why it was a school that you wanted to come to and play?
I had a wonderful visit. I felt like there was community here. I felt like there was a place for me. I saw myself here, and that was really important to me. And coming under Coach Watson, my goal when I got here, when I was recruited, when I committed to SIU, was to be able to be a college football player. I wanted to see myself as a college football player, and that was my goal.
When you think of the camaraderie and, of course, the relationship with your teammates, that is always one of the things that former players talk about the most. The wins maybe not have been where you guys wanted them as a group, but what do you cherish about those seasons with your teammates from 96 to 99?
Well, the wins definitely weren't where we wanted them to be, but we fought hard. And each year we had a win that we weren't supposed to have against a ranked school, against the Northern Iowa, against a Western Illinois, against the Western Kentucky, teams that we weren't supposed to beat. Each year we figured out a way to come together in moments and really have success as a team. And we had success offensively a lot when I was here, not as much defensively, but we had conference accolades, we had national accolades, and it was really a fun time.
What was impressive to me, Cornell, when looking at those teams, yes, you can go to the overall record, but you look how competitive those games were, as you said. Coach Hill preaches to his team all the time of the toughness of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, known as now the Gateway back then.
Yeah.
Pretty sure through your 4 years from looking through the records, there were only 3 league games that you played in that were losses that were by more than 2 possessions. A lot of those games came down towards the end. What do you miss about the Gateway then that's now known as the Missouri Valley Conference?
The Missouri Valley Conference, Missouri Valley Football Conference, is really a top conference in what we called 1AA.
Yeah.
But it's really a lot of top talent and a lot of talent that really could play on the Division I level or the Bowl Championship Series level. And we had a lot of players in that time and, of course, in this time that did transfer from those schools, from those Power 4 conferences and play. But we always knew that it was going to be a battle. And if you look at the record books, the time I was here, we had some of the highest scoring games in league history where we had a lot of possessions, a lot of points, a lot of yards. And unfortunately for us, we came out on the south end of some of those games.
But look, it's kind of like trying to pick your favorite child when you think of, man, is there a game that specifically sticks out for you? But when you think through your career, What is a game? What are some games that come to your mind of, man, like I remember that vividly?
Well, my kind of breakout game, my sophomore year, in the early part of the season, we were playing, I think it was Northern Iowa, and I had 180 yards on 6 receptions, and that was the time where I said, "Oh, I can really do this." Even going back before that, my first reception as a Saluki was against Central Arkansas at McAndrew Stadium. It was a touchdown, and that was amazing. They called me into it was basic route, slant and a flat, and it opened up, and I just reacted. I just caught the ball, and they didn't stop me. And on the Daily Egyptian the next day, it was me reaching for the end zone. So those two games really stand out. The game where I set the single game receiving record against Western Kentucky, where I went for 219 yards. That stands out as well. But there were so many games and so many good teammates that helped make those things possible.
Look, I mean, Coach Kill got the program, no doubt, up and rolling, and Coach Hill, who was one of his key players, Joel Samberski, of course. There's many other players that were a big part of the program, ultimately turning once you graduated and that era was kind of over. But when you do think of Coach Corliss, when you think of Coach Watson, those two men that were your head coaches, what are things you still hold on to that they taught you, that you grasped to, that you go, man, they really made an impact in my life in these areas?
Well, it's really about putting that time and having that sacrifice, putting in that work. And we were kind of a bridge period for SIU football. 1983, of course, national championship. Then we had a bridge to 2004 and on. And we're just happy. I'm just happy to be a part of this story. When I see success with the team, when I see success with individual players that have gone on to more success, I take a bit of that pride and excitement personally.
You have to as well, where the players now, they get to practice each and every day in Saluki Stadium, which, of course, is a gorgeous facility. I've heard stories of McAndrew. McAndrew was prior to my time, of course, coming here, and even prior to my time really paying attention to the Missouri Valley Football Conference as a whole. But with its, whatever you want to describe it as, quirks, the old nature of the stadium, is there any time you wake up and go, man, I miss this about McAndrew? Like, was there anything that maybe you guys was an annoyance as a players, but at the same time, there's that special relationship that you have with a facility like that?
McAndrew was my football home. So there's not much individual things I miss about McAndrew. I played football. I ran track in McAndrew. What I do miss is coming onto campus and coming around that turn and seeing the stadium there. I do miss that. But I'm happy for the Saluki Stadium is amazing. It's wonderful. I would have loved to play in it. I just walked through it to kind of experience it, and I'm just excited for where the program is now.
I've heard some stories about, I think, the weight room underneath the bleachers.
Oh,
like there was a lot of interesting things.
Yes,
and odors and, and all
for
sorts
sure,
of stuff.
for sure. It was long overdue for a change.
Yes, I know it was long overdue. We've talked about some of the games that have meant a lot to you. When you do get the opportunity to come back, I know we still have some players here on campus in the summer. When you get the chance to just, hey, like, here's a few things that maybe I wish I would have known when I was in your shoes. What are kind of those things you go to when you get a chance to talk? And don't have to be current Salukis, but just current athletes today. What are things that you think are really important, Cornell, that maybe you wish you knew when you were in their shoes?
Well, the important things are the work ethic and putting in time and knowing that immediate results may not show up, but over time, if you're consistent, if you're disciplined, those results will show up. That would be one thing. The other thing would be appreciate the moment. The way things are now will not always be. So understanding that things will change. That's the only constant that we have is the change will occur. And knowing that appreciating the moment, being in the moment is valuable. And you'll look back at moments you thought were challenging at the time, and you'll realize that those are some of the best times of your life.
What do you believe ultimately was a separator for you that made you go from just a good player to ultimately being a Hall of Famer that you were?
It was just knowing that I didn't want the general outcome that everyone else has access to, and that meant I had to put in work. I had to work hard. I had to do more than what was required. One of my coaches once said that there are two players that he cannot coach: those who can only do what he tells them to do, and those who can't do what he tells them to do. So I wanted to do the basics, of course. You have to. But I also wanted to do more. I didn't want to have to be told to work out or to run or to catch extra passes. And then as I grew and developed more, I saw the results coming from it. And I know if I put more in, I would get more out.
Your last year, of course, in '99, Offensive Player of the Year in the league. Says a lot about you to earn that honor when you were on a team that only won one league game that year. What did it mean to show that work that you talked about, putting in the work with your team? And there, like we said, there were a lot of close games that could have flipped where that record's a lot different in the Gateway. But to know that you earned the respect throughout the league of everyone going, whew, we did not want to see Cornell Craig out on the field.
Yeah, it really felt good. It really felt good. Everything came together my senior year. I was very fortunate. The offense worked well. We had a connection with my quarterback, and the offensive line did a great job. And it was just beautiful. It felt so comfortable. I was a fish in water. It didn't feel like I was working hard, but it felt like those results were coming. And that was just exciting.
You talked about, of course, relationship with quarterbacks during your time. I think 3 different passing leaders within your 4 years, so 3 different quarterbacks who led the team in passing. To know that you still performed at a high level with different guys who were throwing to you, what did you believe was important in manifesting that relationship between receiver and quarterback? Helps when you have the hands that you do. They're going to throw it to you a lot, but how you kind of approach day-to-day of this is what's important in valuing this relationship that's going to ultimately translate onto the field.
Well, I knew once a new quarterback came in, they had to be my best friend, and not necessarily from a public way, but on the athletic field, working hard. I wanted to put in as much work with them as possible, so we know what each other's doing and what the signals mean for each other. So I wanted my quarterbacks to know what every lane meant, what every route looked like, what every route felt like, when I was open, when I wasn't open, and where to throw it if you thought I wasn't open, where I can still catch the ball. So those are the things I worked on. I knew that I had to put in the work, and I did that with each of the quarterbacks that I had.
I don't want anyone to take this as like, oh, these are just talking points and softball type statements that you tee up and knock out of the park easy. And not every place is like this when I describe it in this way, Cornell, of having the opportunity to be able to get an education from SIU. Where has that opened doors for you in your life post your playing career that you look back on and go, man, this has brought me so much valuable experiences that, yes, football did do a lot for you, but when you think of the classroom and the education piece of what that's done for you in your life?
Well, it's really about setting goals and really putting goals out there that are a challenge for you. I did that on the football field. When I came here, I told the coaches, I looked at the record book, and there was not one receiver that had a 1,000-yard receiving season. And I said, I'm going to be the guy that has the first 1,000-yard receiving season as a first-year freshman here at the university. And I set a goal. It was a high goal because, as I said before, I just wanted to be seen as a college football player. So being able to reach that goal was valuable. But that goal carries over into life. Being able to get that college degree, I set another goal of I wanted to graduate in 4 years, and I reached that goal of graduating in 4 years. I was a true freshman that played, and I played straight through, and I wanted to make sure that when my football career was over here at SIU, I had a degree to go along with it. And I've been fortunate. I've carried that forward to get a master's degree, and I recently finished my doctorate. So I've carried it forward, and it really started here in Carbondale and at SIU.
Saluki fans, of course, we've been able to take them down memory lane a little bit here with you. Tell them now, what's Cornell Craig doing these days? Update on, family, et cetera. What's Cornell Craig up to these days and how his life is going?
I'm living in New York, living in Manhattan, working at a university, at Hofstra University there. Really just trying to continue to be a better person, continue to try to set those goals. I'm eating a lot better. I'm still working out. May not lift as heavy weights as I once did, but still lifting. Have a loving family. No kids at the time, but just really happy. Really in a good place, and really at a place where I want to give back. Not only with my time and energy, but also my experiences.
Well, it's very valuable when people like yourself come back, Cornell, and get the opportunity to be with the coaches, be around the program. It's always a blessing to have you back and know you are always welcome here in Carbondale and especially Saluki Stadium. So are you going to try to walk by? I know Tedrick, the new student center, is going up in the place of old McAndrews Stadium, but you're going to make your way over there and just go, man, like I remember like specifically in this spot.
Oh, I still every time I come to campus, I have that memory of like what side of the stadium I caught a touchdown pass on, or who was sitting where in the stands. So always, it's always going to be there with me.
Cornell, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.
Once again, that was Cornell Craig, Saluki Hall of Famer.